Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to dive into some exciting code snippet that will help you to create a dynamic tab navigation menu for your website. So let's get started. Here we have a div element with the class tab_nav_container, which serves as a container for our navigation tab. This line defines a div element with the class tab_active_purple. This div represents a tab in the navigation menu. Here we have a link element that imports a style sheet from the Font Awesome CDN. This style sheet provides us with the necessary icon to enhance our navigation menu. It contains an eye element which displays a home icon from Font Awesome. Additionally, there is a P element with the text home. This line creates a div element with the class tab_active_pin. It represents a tab in the navigation menu. This line includes an eye element which is provided by Font Awesome and displays a heart icon within the tab. This line contains a P element with the text like. This line creates a div element with the class tab_active_yellow. It represents a tab in the navigation menu. This line includes an eye element which is provided by Font Awesome and displays a search icon within the tab. This line contains a P element with the text search. This line creates a div element with the class tab_active_till. It represents a tab in the navigation menu. It includes an eye element which is provided by Font Awesome and displays a user icon within the tab. This line contains a P element with the text profile. Now let's add some CSS. Here we have set the universal selector, box sizing to border box. Next we have a body element. It sets the background color to a purple shade using RGBA. The font family is set to sans serif and the display is set to flex. The align items and the justify content is set to center and the flex direction is set to column and the transition is set to background 0.4 second linear. Next, we set the text align to center and the margin to 0 to remove any default margin on the body. We set the mean height to 100 VH. Next, we have a tab nav container element. It sets the background to white. The border button right radius is set to 30 pixel. The border button left radius is set to 30 pixel. It creates a rounded border at the bottom of the container. The box shadow property adds the subtitle shadow to effect of the content. Next, the display is set to flex, which creates the container for the children elements. The justify content is set to space between. The padding is set to 30 pixel and the width is set to 450 pixel. Next, we have a tab. It sets the background color to white. The border radius is set to 50 pixel, which creates a circular shape for the tab. The cursor is set to pointer. It changes the mouse cursor. The display is set to flex. The align item is set to center and the justify content is set to center. Next, the padding is set to 0 and 20 pixel, which add a padding on the left and the right side of the tab. The margin is set to 0 and 10 pixel, which add 10 pixel of the margin of the left and the right side of the tab. The transition is set to background 0.4 second linear. Now the tab I, here the font size is 1.2 EM. Next, we have tab P. Here the font weight is set to bold. Overflow is set to hidden. And the max width is set to 0. It sets the maximum width of the tab to 0 pixel. Now we have tab active P. Here it sets the margin left to 10 pixel. It adds 10 pixel of left margin to create some space between the icon. Next, the max width is set to 200 pixel. It sets the maximum width of the level to 200 pixel. Next, it sets the transition to max width 0.4 second linear. It applies a smooth transition effect when changing the maximum width of the level. Next, we have tab active purple. It sets the background color to RGBA, which is a translucent purple shade. and the color is set to a purple using RGB. Next, we have a tab Active Pink. It sets the background color of a pink shade using RGBA. And the color to a fully opaque pink using RGB. Next, we have a tab Active Yellow. It sets the background color to a translucent yellow shade using RGBA. And the text color to a fully yellow using RGBA. Next, we have a tab Active Teal. Here, it sets the background color to a teal shade using RGBA. And the font color is set to teal using RGB. Now it styles the navigation menu when the viewport width is less to or equal to 450 pixels. It reduces the padding of the container to 20 pixels and then it adjusts to width to 350 pixels. Here the padding and the margin of the tab are reduced to 10 pixels. And the font size is set to 1 EM. Now let's move on to the JavaScript. Okay, this line selects all elements with the class tab and store them in the tab variable. The query selector all method returns a nodal list of elements. Next line, it loops iterate over each tab element and attach a click event listener to it. When the tab is clicked, the code within the event listener callback function is executed. Now the next line, add event listener. It adds an active class to the click tab element, making it a visually active. Next, we have a tabs dot for each tab. It iterates over all the tab element again and remove the active class from each of one of them. This ensures that only click tab has the active class. Next we have a click tab dot class list add. It adds the active class to the click tab element, making it visually active. Now this line, it retrieves the computed background color of the click tab using the get compute style method. It retrieves the color value of the color property. This line, it sets the log to the background color value when the click tab to the console. Next, it sets the background color of the document body of the background color to the click tab. So here we have a navigation menu. So that's it for today's video. We hope you have found this code snippet helpful in creating an eye-catching tab navigation menu for your website. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more coding tutorials. Thank you.